Um, Good day to us all, and Ramadan Mubarak. I'm happy to be here this morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, any part of the world. We'll be discussing something that is quite pertinent to the life of everybody, especially to us as Muslims. Okay, this topic is managing stress at home and at the workplace. Okay, we know if I ask randomly what stress means different things to different people. But what is constant is that stress is something that is part of our everyday life. It is basically how our body responds to the outside, the day-to-day activities. So why is this important? For the organizers of this program, I guess I was invited specifically, perhaps because I have a job that is quite demanding. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a specialist. Then perhaps again, because I have a large family. I'm a mother. I have kids, actually a large family, alhamdulillah. So perhaps those are the reasons that were considered in choosing me to discuss this topic. But I must let you know, the size of the stressor, or so to speak, the input, the external environment, does not determine the degree of stress an individual suffers. For instance, the fact that I'm a doctor, I go to work, I hardly have um, time out, so to speak. I'm always at work. Maybe not physically, but even mentally. I have patients I leave behind at work. I have to think about them, what happens to them, and things like that. So basically, I am at work for a huge part of my life then. And because I have kids, and perhaps I have aged parents that depend on me, perhaps we'll now expect that my stressors are so huge, I should be stressed. But it doesn't follow. I may just have one child with special needs, and that's it. And I will not absolutely be able to cope. I may even have 5 kids then with special needs, and I'll do beautifully. In essence, there is need for a balance for this stress not to become a problem. Many authors have discussed the issue of stress at the workplace, stress at home. And it is so important, as I said, especially for us, because of the different roles we play, especially as Muslims. For Muslims, first of all, we owe our responsibility to our Creator. We are Muslims, we are servants of Allah. We are wives for those of us that are married. We are mothers if Allah has blessed us with children. We have parents if they are still alive. We have relatives, friends. And for most of us, we have to go out and work. But it doesn't even matter. Some of us stay at home, and yet that is a stressor on its own. In essence, the fact that we occupy multiple roles, it makes the issue of managing stress very, very important. We cannot overemphasize it. So, what is stress? As I said earlier, I highlighted, stress is essentially the way our body reacts to our daily life experiences. Everybody is exposed to stress. Everybody. Stress is a permanent part of our being. Specifically, however, the specialists, the authors, many authors on this issue have discussed what it is really. They say it's a discrepancy. That when there's a discrepancy between the input, that's the external environment, the stressors, so to speak, the triggers, and our personal perception, our reaction. When there is this discrepancy, it translates into what is called stress. Stress, therefore, can be with us for long, and it can come in bursts, depending on the nature of that stressor. So, how do we identify stress? And when does it become a problem? So, there have been different definitions of what stress is. There's a positive stress and there's a negative stress. So the positive one is essentially the one that pushes us to do more. Okay? There's a natural inbuilt ability in every human to do more, to be able to react when there is a new information. For instance, you have a new experience. The natural tendency of every human is to want to rise up to that occasion. That is innate. So certain substances called hormones are released in our bodies. These assist us to actually do more, to be more productive, to be able to react and manage that new experience perfectly. And that is called a positive stress. We will want to do more. We will want to even achieve better than what we have achieved, and it continues. But this becomes a problem when this source of stress, it persists, becomes chronic, and begins to overwhelm. Then it moves to a stage of burnt out, as is used in the workplace parlance. It leads to burnt out. You become burnt out, so to speak. And unfortunately, you don't know at what point that transits from the point where you are having a positive stress, you are having a positive reaction to this stress, to the point when it becomes a negative reaction. It continues without us knowing. And this is very, very common, especially amongst women. We think we have it all, we can handle it, we are high achieving, we are doing well, and that happens actually well initially. The time when it begins to get negative, oftentimes we are unable to recognize it, and that is why it is a problem. Because some symptoms of this stress and negative stress are not very apparent. For instance, a woman eating, suddenly you begin to eat excessively. You might just say, okay, maybe it's because I have this change in maybe I have this new job, so it's making me to eat more. I'm caring for this person and it's making me to eat more. You will not immediately ascribe it to this stressor, and you will not know it is becoming detrimental. Sleeplessness, it's another very common symptom, which we may actually downplay. We begin to have headaches. I'm like, okay, no, just take a paracetamol, take an aspirin, I'll do well and all that. No. Or you see that you have this persistent neck pain, persistent back pain, and we get addicted to certain over-the-counter drugs. It is not necessary that we take hard drugs like cocaine and all that before we say there's an addiction problem. Even the ordinary over-the-counter paracetamol, we can get so addicted to it because we have immediately thought it's normal for me to have a headache, and therefore it is normal for me to take paracetamol every day. This is not right. We begin to lose weight. We may not even notice. We are so busy trying to put everything together. These are subtle symptoms that stress is becoming negative. Other symptoms are easy irritability. You get angry, you have mood swings, you don't just know what is happening, you don't just want to eat, you don't like this food, you're used to eating this, no, you don't. You're finding it difficult to take decisions that you otherwise make without too much fuss. You start having unnecessary skin irritations, menstrual abnormalities. All these are subtle symptoms that someone's stress level is beginning to worsen. So from the foregoing, we would realize that some normal events, some normal reactions may actually be the first warning signs that stress is becoming detrimental. And it may be unfortunate because we may not recognize it. It will start occurring at a point when perhaps we would easily have made some adjustments. But because we have attributed it to be a normal occurrence, we will not do what is necessary. Please note that this discussion is not an alternative for professional care. If we need help, stress begins to become negative. These little steps I will be outlining in the course of our discussion will not be sufficient to take care of the problem. So, as I said earlier, the discussion is basically because we are Muslims and we have multiple roles and we have a form of misguidance that women multitask, we've got it, we can do it. And we have actually a bit moved away from our natural roles. Some of us have become, shall I say, the main breadwinners at home. We do extra beyond what naturally we should be doing. For that reason, it is important that we occasionally, intermittently, we reassess the situation. We look at ourselves, we see how what we are doing right, how we are doing it. Is it productive? Are we beginning to lose it? Every now and then, we need to do a lot of self-reassessment. So, what do we do? How do we go about it? Authors have described prevention. Prevention is actually being advocated as the best form of preventing detrimental stress. So how do you prevent this? First of all, you have to appreciate that you occupy multiple roles. You must clearly outline your goals, your aims, your different roles, and what you expect of yourself. So you clearly outline them. And then you make sure you discuss with yourself, of course, realistically, what can I achieve? How do I go about achieving this? Very, very important. We must know our limitations. The fact that my friend or my sister is doing this, she's doing that, doesn't necessarily translate to my being able to do so. As I said, there needs to be a balance between the input and the output. My personality, my coping mechanisms, they would assist me to be able to manage my stress differently from another person. However, what is good is that most of these innate things, most of these things that come from within, our perception, our abilities, they can actually be modified. We can build upon them, we can improve upon them, but very, very important, we must assess ourselves and assess ourselves well. So we've said the first thing, you have to appreciate the different roles you play, the goals you want to achieve. You set realistic goals for yourself, and then every now and then you revisit them. You revisit them, you check to see how far you have gone, and then what you need to do more. In essence, you must, first of all, start with yourself, physical well-being. You must begin to practice self-care. Self-care for a woman cannot be overemphasized. Our biologic makeup makes it such that the demands, we have so many other demands that are outside our control, which we have to take care of. Then we now have this added external demand. So self-care cannot be overemphasized. We start with your diet. Many of us we know this. In the morning, everybody's trying to eat breakfast. You are there eating on the go. And then perhaps the bread got burnt, this got that, and you'll be the one to forfeit yours. Or, okay, there's leftover yam, you fry yam, okay, I'll just take the leftovers. No, you can only give from a full cup. You must take care of yourself. You must eat well, eat healthy, and eat at the correct times. We must appreciate that if we go down, a lot of all these things that we are rushing to keep in place would go down too. So we must take care of ourselves, eat well, and then make time for sleep, make time for rest. There should be time for leisure. We sleep well at night. Very important. As I said, these are little things that we neglect, and they build up, they pile up, and then we start seeing the negative effects of these occurrences. So we must have a good diet plan, especially for us that once you're married, you're already there. You're married, you have kids, that's it. Negative returns will start setting in. So you must start eating good. You must start eating healthy. Not necessarily expensive, but eat healthy. For all those of us that are soda addicted, that is when you stop. You cut on your sugar intake, cut on the soda intake, cut on chocolates. Some of us have sweet teeth. Please, your sweet tooth days should be over. You've been sweet toothing all your life. It should be over. Start eating well. You eat well, you stop what is not necessary. Because studies on sugar, they are all over the place, linked with cancer, linked with obesity, linked with many medical conditions. So we must eat well. Cut down sugar, eat veggies, Mediterranean diets, lots of veggies, lots of fruits, as much as possible. We eat well. Then I talked about sleep. Sleep at least 6-7 hours at night. Catch a nap. You will find that even a 10-minute nap during the day will be so productive in making you, do better, even at work. So sleep well, eat well. Then I don't know why we are so misguided about the issue of exercise. We feel because we are all over the place, you're washing plates, you're sweeping, you're doing that, you're caring for the child, you've gotten enough exercise. No, that does not translate to healthy, productive exercise. You must take time out. If you're going to have 30 minutes walk 3 times, 4 times every week, good. You just find a consistent plan. It is the regular, consistent activities that we do that actually translate to well-being. So we have exercise, sign up in a gym. If you do not have any form of recreation at home, go out. You can walk. You can put a table tennis court or something, depending on how large your home is. So engage the kids. Let them be your check, and then you try to make sure you are consistent. You're consistent, and you're consistent. I can't overemphasize that. Then you should learn not to bottle up things. Emotions, you have to take care of your emotions. You don't bottle things up. Once you begin to have a lot on your plate, you'll be expressive. For those fights that you don't need, you avoid them. For those that are necessary, please finish them and let it be over. But don't bottle things up, because these things pile up. Before you know it, you are battling high blood pressure, you are battling migraine headaches, and which you do not need. So a lot of exercise, fresh air, fresh air. Then there are other things that are actually outside our ability, but it's always very, very important. The workplace. If you have to work somewhere, you have to try to make the place good for you. I know some places are beyond you, but for a woman, you cannot not have somewhere where you are happy, where you are appreciated. You can't afford that, because you leave home stressed out. You go to the workplace, someone is badgering you, insulting you. You can't take all that. So as much as possible, you modify your workplace. If you need to take anybody that is causing you trouble to your superiors, get it sorted out. You express yourself. If it is not possible, then I don't know. The best thing is to take care of your mental health. Leave the place. We need if we must go to work, we must go where we can actually work well, where we can be happy, so that we can be productive. So the workplace, very, very important. Then the other issues are, your family. Maintain a very good social network. Don't lose your friends because you are married. Of course, I'm not saying you let everybody into your home, dictate what happens to you. No, maintain healthy relationships. Go out, socialize, maintain the ties of kinship. That is what the religion promotes. Go out, see your friends, see your family, make sure attend picnics with your family. Just maintain the ties of kinship. It goes a long way to maintain our emotional well-being. Of course, I cannot overemphasize the most important thing, which is our spiritual well-being, our spiritual health. Very important. We must take time out to connect with our Creator. And there are so many ways to go about this. You have a Quran plan. You read your Quran, because you remember in the Quran says that in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest. So in the remembrance of Allah, we'll make sure we make time out for the Quran, we'll read, and you be consistent. And with as little, because Allah tells us when we move an arm's length, He runs towards us. So you try, make effort, and you see how Allah makes it easy. Unfortunately, once you have a relationship with the Quran, Allah makes it easy. Fasting, anything that will improve your spirituality. You wake up at night, you do your tahajjud, your night prayer, you fast when you can, the supererogatory the supererogatory fasts, Mondays, Thursdays, your 5 daily prayers, the supererogatory nawafils, the extra prayers. You ensure that you do that, so one has a connection with one's Lord. So much so that, it can be such that you have a problem, He becomes like your friend. Because Allah says you are to Him as, a servant is to Him as you are to Him. It's the way you think of your Allah that He is to you. So you take Him as a friend. I had this problem yesterday night. Oh, I did this daughter. You just have that, and you find your mind, inshallah, your mind will really go down. You have a lot of peace. So spiritual connection, very, very vital. It's a step that we can take, which we must take. As Muslims, we should make sure that that does not shake. We need a connection with our Creator, and He will make things easy. You see, I'm emphasizing this because a lot of things are outside our control. We cannot control so many things. However, there are things that we have control over, and those are the things we're talking about. You take action, because Allah will not change your situation unless you change action. So you take action, and these plans we've already spelled out, you can actually carry them out, and you'll find a change in our lives. So make sure we have a connection with our Creator, and then we take action. So the up and down I've just discussed now is essentially we must have a wellness plan. This is the summary of what I've just discussed. We must have a wellness plan. You have limits, you set goals. They should be realistic goals. Please don't say that because your friend has finished memorizing the Quran within 1 month, I must do that. No. You're not in a competition in this world. The only competition you're having is against yourself. I should be against yourself. So be compassionate with yourself. Be compassionate, and you set realistic goals. That way you are not under any tension, any stress. You set goals that are realistic. Okay. Then every now and then, as I said, you reevaluate your progress. You go through your progress. You'll see, okay, what have I achieved? This was my plan. I intended to do this within this time. What have I achieved? But you see, again, we must, as I just said earlier, you must be compassionate with yourself. So your plans should be flexible. They should be such that if you are unable to achieve this within this period, you know that there's still time to continue. But you must be consistent. You must move. You may not have moved as much as you wanted to move, but at least you've made some progress. These go a long way to help reduce the tension which you'll be exposing yourself to. Then, as I said earlier, this is not a discussion for when stress has become pathologic, when it has become severe, when it has become negative. This is not the discussion for that. For that, you must seek professional help. You're beginning not to sleep very well. You're having headaches. Your blood pressure is rising. And you can actually attribute it to the stressors in front of you. Please seek professional help. We have mental health practitioners that would do a beautiful job for you. Do not sit. Do not keep your problems to yourself. And above all, smile, because you've got this. For a woman that is doing all of this, then definitely you've got this. Now, before the next phase of my little discussion, because it was targeted at me. So I would also want to talk about some practical steps I also have found useful, and perhaps it will be useful to somebody. So I'll start with some scenarios. Imagine a woman with a child with special needs. Okay, she has aged parents that have, one with hypertension, the other has diabetes. She works 9 to 5 in a government hospital, meaning it doesn't belong to her. She has to be there every day, 9 to 5, Monday to Fridays. Okay. And she has this colleague. He goes about undermining her. He goes about telling everybody how bad she is at her work, talks about her kid that has special needs, tells them that she's actually the architect. She went, if you have links with us blacks, they'll tell you perhaps it is due to her being a bad woman, or maybe she went and did some sacrifice with the child, and that is why. So she has that colleague who does that, spoils her name all over the place, and she gets to hear them. It's a woman. Okay, that's the first scenario. Just imagine such a person, and imagine, put yourself in the position of such a person, and just think of how it will make you feel. Then imagine a second scenario. A woman, she has 2 kids, excelling beautifully, A students in school. Okay, she has healthy parents. One of them, the parents stay with even her sibling that is very, very wealthy. So she doesn't really have to do much for them. They are healthy, and they both stay with them with her brother that is doing very well. You're just staying with them, but in Africans, we have this communal living thing. Okay, so they stay with the brother and everybody's fine. So the responsibilities are not huge on her. 2 kids doing well, parents healthy, no problem, spouse happy. Then she has this beautiful job. Okay, she's working as a in a friendly center, provides booking details for people that want to travel in an airline. That's all she does. She goes there, she works shifts, okay, 8-hour shifts, and she's done. So imagine, put yourself in the first scenario and imagine yourself in this second scenario. Imagine the amount of stress the first lady is exposed to. Then you now look at this one. But what is good about this is that for each stress, as I said, stressful situation, we can actually build ourselves. We can take practical steps which will assist us to adapt. This is what is very important to know, and especially as Muslims, conditions can change. And that is why prevention is so important. For the woman whose kids had special needs, I mean, she could just find just the perfect hospital, takes care of everything, has perfect caregivers for her kids, doesn't have problems. The parents, okay, they do well. They begin to do very well on their medications. She doesn't even need to check on them too frequently. They give them 3 to 6 monthly hospital appointments, and they begin to do well. Then the colleague that wasn't doing well, spoiling her name over the place, gets transferred to another place, or she gets transferred elsewhere where she's happy. Her situation has changed. Now imagine the second one. 2 kids doing excellently well. All of a sudden, one of them has an accident. Okay, has an accident, loses his memory, or becomes bedridden or chair ridden, and then he becomes a special needs patient too. So conditions change. For that reason, we must be ready, and we should be all we should learn the prevention, because prevention would actually be better than seeking cure when it happens. So we should be ready. We should put our trust in Allah, which is very, very vital, because some things are outside of our control. But those things that are within our control, we try to build upon them and make ourselves as resilient as we can. So I now want to talk about some practical steps that I think I found very useful, because of the training, the nature of my training. Being a doctor has actually assisted me to be able to multitask. And I think, alhamdulillah, to some extent, multitask well, relatively well, if you use one's achievements to determine well. So, but as I said, it's by the mercy of Allah. So at the forefront, very important, everything we do, because we are Muslims, and it's much, much easier. We put Allah. Allah is at the forefront. Whatever now comes behind, We put our trust in Allah as qadar. Okay? But we have taken action. So in the first instance, Allah is at the forefront. Allah, you are a driver. Allah, you are a creator. You lead me, guide me. I don't know. I'll just do as much as I can. And these are my plans. So I've always been someone to make that loves making plans. I immediately I don't have a plan. I get destabilized. So I make plans. Even from the days of when I had to read. I will make plans as per I'm going to read 1 to 2 this topic, 2 to 3 this, and then I make plans over weeks. But what was again I realized about myself was that I didn't used to beat myself much up. Perhaps maybe it didn't make me to achieve as much as I would have achieved. I don't know now. But whenever I was always with a plan B and plan C, sometimes if immediately I am unable to finish reading within maybe the 1 hour allotted to a topic, I just extend it and readjust to the timetable immediately. I did that for long throughout my medical days. And I think the thing assisted me thereafter during practice. Okay, having plans, setting goals from the onset, you already have a plan. Okay, my kids, they will go to school. I will make sure that they attend Islamia because I want them to finish memorizing so and so within such period. Then you start working towards that. If they are unable to finish, they are able to achieve that. I am grateful for what we have achieved. And I make move to plan B. Move to plan B. If plan B doesn't work, I extend it. And 6 months memorization moves to 1 year and sometimes 2 years. But what is important is progress. So that, or at work, okay, I plan, I want to write so paper within such period. I make effort to do that, put things in place, and I start working towards that. At the end of the month, for instance, the plan was for a month. I'm unable to do it. I sit down, drawing table. How far have we gone? I've not written. What has been my stumbling block? What stopped me from achieving this? Then I reassess, try to see whatever corrections I need to make, and then I move to plan B. Okay, so within 2 months, 3 months, we should be able to achieve that. So, of course, perhaps as I said earlier, maybe it made me not to achieve too much, but I think it maintained some form of balance, mental balance for me. I was able to do that and then make new adjustments. And in the process, I found myself doing 1 or 2 things and achieving every now and then. So as I said, planning for me was something that I'm always having a jotter, to-do lists, always having something where I write something. 1 week plan, if it is a 3-year plan, that is in my brain and I continue to revisit that one. So I think having a plan is very, very important and set goals that are realistic. My emphasis is on realistic goals. Then one has to take time to relax. Relaxation, you cannot estimate the amount of good that it does to a person. You must take time to relax. For some people, you don't sleep well, you don't sleep during the day, it's okay. But take time, even if it's just 20 minutes, to just sit on your bed and meditate. Read your Quran. Memorize what you have read. I mean, just relax. I mean, revise what you have memorized. Relax. Listen to recitation. Even if it is just 10, 20, 30 minutes in a day, you find them. It doesn't need to be a bed. You sit on a chair that is relaxing, comfortable, and you just zoom out for that period. Then at night, once you know that you don't sleep much during the day, then you should make sure your nights are productive, sleep-wise. You sleep well every time. Relaxation is something I can't even joke with it because I don't sleep much during the day. At night, I just begin to look like a jaywalker. I'm so sleepy, I have to sleep. I sleep well at night. So that I use for relaxation. Another thing is you don't need to actually have big plans for leisure. For instance, you can turn going to the market for us women into something pleasurable. You can decide, okay, I'm going to pick up some things. You have your list of what items you want to buy. Then you go to maybe the clothes section or the toys section. and you window shop. You window shop, and it gives you some form of, relaxing effect. You relax. Then traveling, for me, it was something that every opportunity to travel, no matter how short the journey, you find seeing the trees as you're passing very relaxing. You're listening to your favorite reciter, you're listening to a lecture as you're traveling, very relaxing. You go to a new place, you meet new people, traditions. So, and they are, at the end of the day, these are very, very, so to speak, inexpensive things that have far-reaching effects on our mental health. So I found that for me personally, that it was very relaxing, traveling, um, mm, shopping, window shopping, because I'm not so rich. So you window shop, and then if it pays you, or you visit a farm, visit like a poultry farm, anything that you find relaxing, something for you, but it must be deliberate. It must be deliberate, because the effects of all these measures, they are not quantifiable. They are not quantifiable, and you cannot even, they are not tangible. Okay, they're usually things that you can't see, but they are far reaching. Another thing that I do, okay, I have, at the end of the day, I have a TV series I watch. Okay, I make sure that I try not to get addicted to it. It's a crime series. So that will take me 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I'm done. I laugh, and then it gives me opportunity to be with family again, and then that's that. So you just pick something that will relax you, and um, um, you'll find it very rejuvenating. At night, one thing that I really do, and alhamdulillah, I think it's been nice, because I feel we sin and we sin. And sometimes some stressors come because of some of our sin. Allah says it's, sometimes it's for us. He does it for, it's those that he loves the most, that he tests the most. Okay, so at the end of the day, just two nawafils of Surah Nawafil for Tawbah, just seek Allah's forgiveness, and then at night before going to sleep. And then as much as possible, your alarm, you should try to set it for you and your creator time at night. Very beautiful. As I said, we must have a relationship with Allah. We can't play with that as Muslims. We can't. Everything about us is controlled by Allah. So we must make time out for Allah. Use at night, you already have your alarm, even if it's just 15 minutes to Fajr. You make sure you wake up, do some nawafils, some rak'ats, and you talk to your creator. Your worries, you cry to him. Your insecurities, your fears, because he's all in all. He has power over everything, and he can change one situation. And if you think there's no problem, then you thank Allah, because Allah says if you thank him, he'll give you more. So at night, make sure that constantly, and Allah will make it easy, every night, as much as possible. And as I said again, be compassionate on yourself for those days you are unable to do them, because Allah does not put a burden that is too much for you on you. So as much as possible, every night you will hasten to wake up, speak to your Allah, and you talk to him about how your day went yesterday and how you plan for your day today, to go today. So very, very important. Again, as I said, we're reading the Quran. For those of us that know how to read the Quran, we read the Quran. For those that are still learning, we again, the reward is there. We have a lot of reward for that as well. So in finally, as I said, Allah doesn't put a burden that is beyond us. He will only try us as much as is our capability. And for us Muslims, we should know that he's got our back. He will not want what is beyond us, what is stressful for us. He will not want that for us. So we should know that we've got this. We've got Allah is with us, and he'll take care of us. So in a nutshell, I would stop now. I have discussed the what stress is. I've talked to us about what stress is. I've told us that stress is a normal part of our daily lives. However, it is very pertinent for us Muslims, because because we occupy many roles which we have to try as much as possible to fulfill well. And I've told us that stress is a normal body reaction to our daily life events. However, when it begins to get, there's a discrepancy between what is affecting us from without and our innate capability, then the issue of stress comes about. I've also told us that stress can be a positive when it pushes us to be the best of what we can be. However, it can also be negative, and it will show certain symptoms, which may actually go unnoticed by some of us because we will describe it as part of the normal day-to-day activities. I mean, day-to-day effects on ourselves. So we may actually not recognize them, and that is when it becomes a problem. As much as possible, prevention is what I have advocated, and prevention can be achieved following certain steps that I have outlined. I've also emphasized that we must have a very, very good relationship with our Allah, because ultimately He has control over us. But I also gave us a note of warning that Allah will only change for us when we change what is within ourselves. So we must take action. Must take action. And I also used myself as an example I gave some practical steps about what I found useful in my life's journey so far. Alhamdulillah. So in essence, this is what we have discussed. And I pray Allah would forgive me for wherever I have misled you. And I will pray that He will make you to have understood it beyond the way I have explained everything I've explained. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thanks again for inviting me. It's been wonderful. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.